us bring to our task today the vision and will of those who came before us.
The American dream endures.
This is, in some measure, an act of faith and vision.
It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream.
Hello. Welcome to the world of the future. My name is Max, and I'll be your host. Before we get started, we'd like to remind you that this show was made with a video editing program called Virtual U. You can download this free program from the web address showing on your screen, as well as a WordPad file that explains how to install and run it. Virtual U allows you to edit and make video presentations, documentaries, slideshows, and much more. You can also make a cartoon character like Max, who looks like you and speaks with your voice or any voice you choose. Okay, without further delay, let us go forth into the world of the past and see what we can find. You can't usually see the future, but you can go there. You can see the past, but you cannot go there. This time we're going way, way back to the dawn of civilization. The earth has turned round and round through the groaning ages, and the sun has risen and set countless times on a world without end, and we travel in our time machine further and further back into the mist of history. Now let's take a look at one of the enduring mysteries of the past. The question is, when and how was the wheel invented? Historians think the potter's wheel preceded the use of wheels for transportation about 6,000 years ago in the Neolithic period. No one knows who created the wheel, but it may be that it wasn't invented by a person at all. Here's a hint about who we think invented the wheel. We believe that it was this fellow right here, the wheel spider. When threatened, he rose rapidly downhill away from danger. It's possible that one of our ancestors saw this spider in action and was inspired to copy him. The rest, as they say, is history. Spiders are smart, and they have more to fear from humans than vice versa. Later in the show, we'll present another invention inspired by spiders. We'll also have a prediction of the future involving a certain grid similar to what you see now. Okay, let's jump into our time machine again and move forward about 4,000 years to the year 0 and beyond, when a most extraordinary man appeared on the scene to shake the world forever. We're going to look at his life, his teachings, his history, and his impact on the world in new and possibly radical ways that may surprise both believers and non-believers. Before we talk about, yeah, you guessed it, Jesus, we need to address some related issues involving creation. The question of our existence, everything else, and the meaning of life, if any, may or may not involve God, depending upon who you talk to. It all boils down to apparently two possibilities. One, everything created itself from nothing, or always existed. Or two, God created everything and God has always existed. Religious believers can relax, lean back, and point to their God as creator. Atheists have a larger list of possible scientific explanations, including the problem with these scientific theories is that they still don't explain how everything came from nothing or how something has always existed without being created. If one or more of these theories are correct, then everything has always existed and merely transfers from one place or dimension to another. Which of these two possibilities present the fewest assumptions? Well, you'll have to decide that for yourself, but the current favorite theory about the end of the universe states that eventually the universe will wind down into a heat death or a big freeze where the universal temperature is almost at absolute zero and everything, including time, stops. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Another Jesus story, right? Well, both atheists and believers just may be surprised. As for Jesus, whom many believe is God or part of God, most historians believe that he actually did exist. What's in dispute is what the Bible tells us about him, the events surrounding his life, and what they mean. The biggest mistake that atheists make is that because of the inaccuracies, contradictions, and possibly self-serving and even outrageous statements in all of the holy books, they reject it all without considering the possibility that they describe something real. The words said by Jesus, however, must by definition be all true or completely false. He was either a liar or a speaker of the truth. There's no room for ambiguity about it. Jesus never traveled very far and apparently wrote nothing himself, and was rather an obscure person living in ancient primitive times. This is proven by the relative scarcity of verifiable historical information about him, something many unbelievers often emphasize. He wasn't the only rabble-rouser of his times, though, and in such a volatile region there must certainly have been other leaders, demagogues, and cranks who, unlike Jesus, didn't make much of a mark on history. If there is a God, then no one knows why certain things are the way they are. Clues exist about the real thing, but that's about all until you find it or it finds you. There are finders and findees, those who find and those who are found, or both. Now let's go to the present and see what's currently going on in the world and the universe. In February of this year, pilots from 2 different airplanes reported that a UFO flew over the tops of their planes, which were traveling at 30,000 feet over Arizona. Here are the actual edited FAA air traffic recordings of that encounter.
Level 5686 is going to maintain for level 260. We're 71 Papa Golf, good.
And there was anybody above us that passed us like 30 seconds ago?
We're 71 Papa Golf, negative.
Okay. Something is. It's a UFO. Yeah.
American 1095, let me know if anything passed over you during the next 15 miles.
You don't think anything passes over?
American 1095 is coming over. An aircraft in front of you, 37, are reported coming pass over, and then we didn't have any charges, so just let me know if you see anything pass over you.
I don't know what it was. It wasn't an airplane, but it was, the path was going opposite direction.
It's all a riddle, and the top questions just aren't answered. By the way, in my opinion, the Mexican wall money would be better spent somewhere else. Or even by the military than on that unnecessary project. But maybe some folks don't want that. If injury is added to insult, and the military pays for that wall like Trump wants, then the military would be weakened, right? Maybe some folks want that, huh? We may finally have figured Trump out. He's a misinformation fan. Now we're going to re-emphasize a topic that we mentioned in previous shows, and that topic is self-healing. Doctors are fine and necessary, but the patient has to be involved in his or her own self-interest too. Think about it. When a disease hits, you may seek medical help, take medicine, or rest. But if the ailment continues, then you either accept it or have trouble accepting it. But do you get angry at the ailment? Probably not. You most likely just resign yourself to the circumstances and meekly and weakly endure the best you can, not realizing that strong emotions are great weapons against disease. If anyone hurts you or a person you love, then you would become angry, right? We're talking about knockdown, drag-out rage, but strong emotions are not always so easy to generate. If you cannot generate real anger, then instead you can program yourself to take advantage of emotions that can be found in dreams and even nightmares. We hope you have enjoyed the show so far. Let's go on to the world of the future. I have no battle with atheists. In fact, I sympathize with them. No one has it easy, and it's tough to be human. In fact, it may comfort atheists to consider that life, like time, may be an illusion. So if life is an illusion, and you're a good person, then perhaps you don't need to fear death. If something isn't real, then it can't die since it never existed in the first place. Love your atheists and love your enemies, as someone once said. By the way, never underestimate the power of the humble number 2. In the world of the future, some people will enjoy greater leisure and a higher level of existence, but others will be left out in the cold, a typical human story. It seems like all the really good things in life are rare and only appear for a brief time. Let's face it, God is hard to find. That doesn't mean that He does not exist. It only means that our understanding of the real rules could stand some improvement. Our motto is, attitude is everything. You never can tell what's around the corner. Later on, we'll show you a new prediction of the future made by our own resident seer. But for now, here is our list of things that will change in the world of the future. always the bright point of any show to report a visionary prediction of the future made by our resident seer. He recently had a vision and has prepared a prediction for you based on that vision. We apologize in advance for the cryptic, seemingly ambiguous nature of this prediction, but we did the best we could. Maybe you could help us out. It was a simple vision, but sometimes the simplest things are the most difficult to understand. We'll now show a representation of what he saw, and then we'll show you the prediction that was made from it. He told us that this vision was very brief and simple. The first thing he saw was many points of light embedded in darkness. He's not sure if the lights represented stars in a dark sky, or more symbolically, small but bright points of enlightenment and truth. A lattice-like grid then appeared in front of the points of light. This grid was golden and attractive in color, but the seer knew that the gold was merely painted or gilded over some other common metal. The grid represents either a wall or the bars of a prison, or both. After a moment, shapes began to emerge from the matrix of the grid and grow toward the center of each open square area. As the shapes grew, they changed into people. Our seer observed that in a short time all of the spaces of the grid would soon be filled until the points of light could no longer be seen. Here is our prediction. You be the psychic. You be the seer. You decide. Well, that's all of the show for now, even though there is no now. We hope you enjoyed it and that you will visit us again. So long until the next edition of The World of the Future.